The choice for this project is born from my interest for everything concerning communication and the modalities through which it takes place. The interest for this topic comes from my passion for everything concerning traveling and the communicative sector. I wanted to do an in-depth analysis in order to better understand the mechanism regulating the tourist sector, and I focused my attention on language in particular. When we talk about tourism, we often analyze the ended process, made of the purchase of a certain product or the potential tourist choices. With a more accurate study, we are able to understand the mechanism hidden beyond each of these choices. These mechanisms are deeper than the ones we face in our everyday life and can influence people and their way of thinking to lead them to make very specific choices. The words culture and communication are closely linked. Culture and consequently language are influenced by different factors according to which the language has to be chosen and adapted, such as the physical and artificial environment, the weather, and clothes. We should remember what the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis states, as it says that the way people think and act is highly influenced by their original language and culture. Communication, when translated, has to be mediated in order to be understandable to everybody. This task is carried out in different ways by three different characters: the translator, the cultural mediator, and the interpreter. Every one of them will have to be able to choose the most suitable language to the reference background. In the last years, tourism faced numerous changes. Traveling has become more and more tourism, and the society whose needs have to be satisfied is no more static but liquid. Satisfaction is apparent, and the desire remains constant. As we face a liquid society, it is necessary to understand to who we are talking to and how products and clients change it over time. The protagonist of our analysis is language. Communication is not only an exchange of messages or a transfer of data, it is something producing consequences. Saying that some communication forms are more effective than others would be a mistake because it depends on the effects we want to arrive at. In order to make a communication effective, it is necessary that the sender and the addressee share the same linguistic code. Tourist language is defined as a special language, that is to say, a language depending on a knowledge sector and used by a more limited speakers group. It is a high self-referential communication, focused more on the departure pole, the tourist, rather than on the arrival one, destination or product. The expectations to be fulfilled are built on the departure pole. This language is committed to selling rather than informing, and this means that the promotional function prevails on the informative one. When we try to understand other people's needs and then to translate, we have to begin from an analysis of the receiving pole in order to embrace the needs of the addressee. As Ramon Jacobson said, it is not possible to understand the meaning of a word without having a linguistic experience of the word itself first. Translating is extremely important as it has to make a product accessible to an infinite number of addressees. Through the words, we have to be able to reach the sensorial and emotional scope of clients. In order to pursue this goal, it is necessary that who is writing or communicating a message tries to identify himself with the tourist and uses special words known as keywords, that is to say, words familiar to the tourist. Before writing or translating, it is necessary to better understand the environment surrounding the tourist, his desires and his expectations. What tourists love are feelings and real facts, so communication has to illustrate rather than to explain. The language of tourism has its own goal. It has to be authentic, instill emotions, and has to be in line with the client. We are in the 4.0 communication age, that is to say, a more sociable, transparent, and bidirectional communication. Users prefer a consumer to consumer communication, where they can both receive and provide information. Tourists can get in touch with what is promoted mainly through translation, which serves as a link between different cultures and allows tourists to get in touch with more cultural realities. Tourists will be more inclined to buy if they have the chance to get informed in their own language. Translation is a real cultural transfer, and translators have to be bicultural. They had to know both the source and target language. Translation is a real cultural transfer, and translators have to be bicultural. They have to know both the source and target language. An extremely important rule is covered by the web, which is the best channel to use to find information we need in a short period of time. With the advent of the internet, tourists are no more passive subjects. They become the active subjects of the multimedia process. Nowadays, clients pretend immediate and effective answers, and they want their needs to be satisfied even before to be formulated. Tourists require a language aimed at stimulating emotions, desires, and inspirations. The information which tends to be preferred is the one provided by the audience itself. This task is efficiently carried out by social media, as they allow to keep a direct relationship with tourists and provide continuous incentives. Even in the multimedia world, every target has its own needs, and it will be necessary to choose the most suitable platform. Communication is an important element around which our lives adapt and develop themselves. Without dialogue and communication, man wouldn't have the chance to compare and enrich his knowledge in a wide sector such as the tourist one.